If you're watching this right now, I need you to pay attention. Because this isn't random. You've been trying to manifest something, maybe for months, maybe for years. You've done the affirmations, the vision boards, the gratitude journals. You've visualized until your eyes hurt, and yet nothing, or worse, small breadcrumbs that keep you hoping, but never the full breakthrough. Here's what no one tells you about that pattern, and here's why you're watching this video at this exact moment. You're not doing it wrong. Let me say that again. You're not broken and your desires aren't too big. You're just operating at the wrong frequency. And here's the stunning part that's going to shift everything for you right now. You're closer than you've ever been. In fact, if you're seeing this video right now, if something pulled you here, that's not a coincidence. That's a signal from the quantum field itself. You're standing at what I call the collapse point. Let me explain what's happening in the quantum field right now, and why this moment matters more than any meditation you've done. Your desire? It already exists, not as some future possibility floating out there in the universe, but as a present reality in a parallel timeline. Every version of your life is happening simultaneously right now. The you that has what you want, that version exists. The you that's living in abundance, real. The you that's in the relationship, the career, the body, the life you've been visualizing. Already alive, already breathing, already experiencing it. And you're about to learn how to collapse that wave function and shift your consciousness into that timeline. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't theory. It's the precise mechanism hidden in plain sight that almost nobody talks about, and that's just... But here's where most people, maybe even you, have been getting it completely backwards. And this is uncomfortable to hear, so I need you to really be present with what I'm about to say. Most people manifest from wanting energy, and that's the entire problem. Wanting is a frequency of lack. Every single time you sit down to visualize and you feel that longing, that ache, that desperate hope, you're sending a signal to the quantum field that says, I don't have this. I'm separate from this. I need this to come to me from somewhere else. And the field, because it's precise, because it's a mirror, because it responds to your energetic signature, gives you more of exactly that. More not having, more separation, more waiting. This is why you can do everything right on paper and still feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. The practices aren't wrong, your desires aren't wrong, your frequency is just misaligned. You're broadcasting lack while trying to receive abundance. You're transmitting separation while trying to experience union, and the quantum field doesn't judge this. It just reflects it back to you with stunning accuracy. So you get synchronicities that go nowhere, opportunities that fall through, moments where you almost had it and then it dissolved. Not because the universe is cruel, but because your energetic signature is saying, not yet, not me, not ready. And here's the other thing nobody wants to admit. You're trying to force the collapse. White-knuckling your desires, gripping so tight your spiritual knuckles are bleeding, checking for signs every single day, looking for proof, refreshing your email, your bank account, your dating apps, your opportunities, like you're waiting for a package that never arrives. That's not manifestation. That's desperation wearing a spiritual costume. That's need disguised as faith. And in the quantum language, this is noise, not signal. Every time you check, you're collapsing the wave function back into your current reality. You're literally locking yourself into the frequency of still waiting. The observer effect doesn't just mean you create reality by looking at it. It means you collapse infinite possibility into whatever frequency you're holding when you look. So let's talk about what quantum physics actually shows us. Not the Instagram quote version, but what's really happening. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition. That means they're in all possible states simultaneously until they're observed. The famous double-slit experiment proved this. A particle is both wave and particle in multiple places at once until the moment you measure it. Then it collapses into one specific state. Your desires work the same way. Right now, in the quantum field, your manifestation exists in superposition. All possible timelines, the one where you have it, the one where you don't, the one where it comes next week, the one where it comes next year, all existing at once, and your consciousness is the observer. Your attention, your focus, your energetic frequency, that's what collapses the wave. But here's the part that changes everything. You're not collapsing it into what you want. You're collapsing it into what you are. The frequency you're holding right now is selecting which timeline becomes real. If you're holding the frequency of lack, you collapse into more lack. If you're holding the frequency of waiting, you collapse into more waiting. But if you can hold the frequency of already having it, of being the person who naturally receives this, that's when everything shifts. That's when the wave collapses in your favor. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So here's the paradox that changes everything. And I mean everything. The moment you stop needing it is the moment the field can deliver it. Read that again. The moment you stop needing it is the moment the field can deliver it. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This isn't just let go and pretend you don't care. This is quantum mechanics, because need is a frequency. And the frequency of need broadcasts separation. It says, I am here and the thing I want is over there and I need to pull it toward me. That's a gap. That's distance. That's the electromagnetic signature of lack. But when you surrender the need, when you shift from wanting energy to receiving energy, everything changes. You're no longer trying to pull something toward you. You're opening space for what's already yours to land. Let me explain what energetic surrender actually means, because this is where most people misunderstand and give up. Surrender doesn't mean you stop desiring. It doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you stop needing the outcome to feel complete. You stop needing it to prove you're worthy. You stop needing it to finally be happy. You shift from, I need this to be okay, to I'm already okay, and this is simply the next expression of who I am. Feel the difference? One is grasping, the other is receiving. One is lack, the other is fullness. And here's how you know you've made the shift. It's a felt sense in your body. When you're in wanting energy, there's tension. There's tightness in your chest, your stomach, your throat. There's a low-grade anxiety humming underneath everything. You're waiting for permission to relax. But when you shift into receiving energy, there's spaciousness, there's a softness, there's a quiet knowing that doesn't need to check, doesn't need to control, doesn't need to force. You breathe differently. You move through your day differently. You stop asking, where is it? And start living like someone who already has it. Not because you're faking it, but because you've aligned with the frequency where it's already true. So let me give you something practical right now. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. And I want you to feel into the energy of your desire, not the image, not the details, the energy. What does it feel like when you think about it? Is there tension? Is there urgency? Is there a voice saying, I need this, I need this, I need this? That's wanting energy. Now I want you to breathe. And on the exhale, I want you to release that grip just for a moment, soften. Let go of needing it to happen today, this week, this month. Just breathe and soften. And now ask yourself, if this desire is already mine, if it's already done, if all I have to do is let it land, what does that feel like? Feel that shift. That's receiving energy. That's the frequency of the version of you who already has this. And every time you practice this shift, you're tuning your consciousness to a new station. You're selecting a different timeline. Here's why this works. The quantum field doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't respond to your visualizations. It responds to your vibration. And when you shift from need to receivership, you're broadcasting a completely different signal. You're saying, I'm ready, I'm open, I'm already the person this comes to. And the field has no choice but to reflect that back to you. Now let's go deeper. Because energetic surrender is just the beginning. The next layer is what I call the identity shift. And this is where most manifestation teaching completely misses the mark. They tell you to try to become the person who has the thing. To fake it till you make it, to act as if. But here's the radical truth. You don't try to become that person. You already are that person. You're just not animating that version of yourself yet. Let me explain. In the quantum field, every possible version of you exists simultaneously. The version of you who's successful, wealthy, loved, healthy, that's not a future self you need to grow into. That's a present self you need to select. Think of it like this. You have multiple channels available on your TV right now. They're all broadcasting simultaneously. You're not creating the channel when you switch to it. You're just tuning into what's already there. Your consciousness works the same way. Every morning you wake up and decide which version of yourself to animate. Most people unconsciously animate the same version over and over. The one that's struggling, waiting, trying, hoping. But you can consciously choose differently. You can ask, who would I be if I already had this? How would I move through my day? What choices would I make? What energy would I carry? And then you embody that, not as pretending, but as recognition. You're not faking a future self. You're activating a present self that's always been available. And when you do this consistently, something stunning happens. Your external reality begins to reorganize itself to match the internal identity you're holding. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've shifted frequencies, you've changed the channel, and now you're broadcasting from a completely different timeline. Now here's where science meets spirituality in a way that's going to blow your mind. Because emotions aren't just feelings, they're measurable frequencies. Dr. Bruce Tainio developed equipment that could measure the electromagnetic frequency of the human body. And what he found was stunning. Different emotional states vibrate at different frequencies. Measurable, quantifiable, real. The frequency of fear? Around 100 hertz. Anger sits at about 150. Gratitude vibrates around 540. Love, unconditional love, resonates at 528 hertz. Some researchers call this the miracle frequency. And here's what this means for manifestation. Your desire also has a frequency. The version of your life where you have what you want is vibrating at a specific electromagnetic frequency. And your job isn't to reach for it, pull it, chase it. Your job is to match it, to align your personal frequency with the frequency of the reality you want to experience. This is what Joe Dispenza talks about when he says you need to become the living embodiment of your future, not as visualization, as frequency. You need to feel it in your cells. The gratitude of already having it, the love of already living it, the peace of already being it. And when you do this, when you hold that frequency consistently, the quantum field has to respond. Because it's a mirror, it doesn't have opinions about whether you deserve what you want. It simply reflects back the frequency you're broadcasting. So your current reality right now? It's a perfect reflection of the frequency you've been holding. Not the frequency you wish you were holding. Not the frequency you try to hold during meditation. The frequency that's humming underneath everything. The one you carry when you're not thinking about it. That's what's creating your reality. And that's what we're going to shift. Now let's talk about something that confuses almost everyone. The silence. The void. The period where nothing seems to be happening. You've done the work, you've shifted your frequency, you've surrendered, and then nothing, no signs, no movement, no external evidence. And this is where most people give up. They think the silence means it's not working. They think the void means they failed, but here's what quantum physics reveals. The vacuum isn't empty. The quantum vacuum state is actually the most potent state in the universe. It's not absence, it's pregnancy. It's the moment before the wave collapses. It's the inhale before the exhale. In quantum field theory, the vacuum is seething with virtual particles constantly emerging and disappearing. It's pure potential, pure possibility. And when you're in this phase, when nothing's happening externally, everything is happening internally. The field is reorganizing. Your neural pathways are rewiring. Your electromagnetic signature is stabilizing at the new frequency. You're not waiting for something to arrive. You're gestating. You're in the chrysalis. The caterpillar doesn't see the butterfly forming inside the cocoon, but the transformation is happening whether it's visible or not. So if you're in the silence right now, don't panic. Don't start checking for signs. Don't collapse back into doubt. This is the most critical phase, because the moment you go looking for evidence in your current reality, you collapse the quantum potential back into what already is. You're literally reaching back to the old timeline and pulling it forward. Instead, trust the void, rest in the vacuum. Know that the silence is the universe inhaling, and when it exhales, everything you've been aligning with comes rushing in all at once. Not in drips, not in breadcrumbs, in a wave, in a flood, in what looks like sudden luck but is actually precise quantum timing. So let's get really precise now, because this is where most spiritual teaching stays vague, and I want to give you the exact mechanism. Parallel timelines aren't metaphor. They're not just a nice way to think about possibilities. According to quantum theory, specifically the many worlds interpretation, every possible outcome of every decision creates a branching timeline. Right now, there's a timeline where you already have what you want. There's a timeline where you're living in that relationship, that abundance, that health, that success. And here's what's stunning. You're not trying to create that timeline. It already exists. You're trying to shift your consciousness into it. Think of it like tuning a radio. The station you want is already broadcasting. The music is already playing. You're just on the wrong frequency. You're not creating the music when you turn the dial. You're accessing what's already there. Your consciousness is the dial. Your attention is the tuner. And every moment, with every thought, every emotion, every decision, you're either staying on the current station or shifting to a new one. Most people stay on the same station their entire lives. They tune in to struggle every morning. They resonate with lack throughout the day. They fall asleep on the frequency of not enough. And they wonder why their reality never changes. But you're not most people, because you're here. You're listening, and you're about to understand how to consciously select which timeline you're living. Not by forcing, not by trying, but by becoming the vibrational match to the reality that already exists. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because you're not just shifting to a new timeline. Your current reality and your desired reality are beginning to phase lock. This is a term from physics. When two oscillating systems are close in frequency, they begin to synchronize. Think of metronomes on a shared surface. They start ticking at different rhythms, but gradually they lock into the same beat. Your consciousness and your desired reality are doing the same thing right now. Every time you hold the frequency of already having what you want, even for a few seconds, you're pulling those two realities closer together. They're beginning to oscillate in harmony. They're synchronizing. And here's what happens when systems phase lock. They reach a critical threshold, a tipping point, and then suddenly they snap into perfect alignment, not gradually, suddenly. This is why manifestations often appear out of nowhere, why breakthrough happens all at once after months of seeming nothing. You're not building toward the result, you're synchronizing with it. And when you hit that critical threshold, when your frequency locks with the frequency of your desire, the shift is instantaneous. One moment you're here, the next moment you're there. Not because anything external changed slowly over time, but because you finally achieved coherence with the timeline that was always available. And the quantum field collapsed into that reality. So if you're frustrated because nothing's happened yet, understand this. Every single time you hold the aligned frequency, you're moving closer to phase lock. You're reducing the gap, you're increasing coherence, and you're approaching the threshold where everything snaps into place. So let me tell you exactly how to know you're at the collapse point, how to recognize that you're about to experience the phase transition. Because there are signs, specific unmistakable signs, and if you're experiencing 3 or more of these right now, I'm telling you, you're not months away, you're moments away. First, you feel a deep, unexplainable calm. Not the fake calm where you're trying to convince yourself everything's fine, but a real embodied peace that doesn't need to check, doesn't need proof, doesn't need reassurance. You just know. Second, synchronicities increase but don't trigger you. You see angel numbers, you have meaningful coincidences, but you don't grasp at them. You just smile and keep moving. Third, old patterns surface to be released. People from your past reappear. Old fears come up. This isn't regression, it's clearing. The system is purging what doesn't match your new frequency. Fourth, you feel guided to rest, to do less, to stop forcing. This is your consciousness preparing for the shift. Fifth, time feels different. Hours pass like minutes, or minutes feel like hours. You're moving between timeline frequencies. Sixth, your desires feel less urgent, not because you don't want them anymore, but because you already feel like you have them. The gap has closed internally. And seventh, you found this video. I'm serious. If you're watching this right now, if you made it this far, that's not random. You're being called to this information because you're ready for it. Your consciousness is preparing for collapse. So if 3 or more of these resonate, I need you to hear this. Stay the course. Don't go looking for external proof. Don't collapse back into doubt. You're at the threshold and everything's about to shift. All right, let's bring this into practice. Because understanding the quantum mechanics is beautiful, but you need a daily protocol, something concrete, something you can do every single morning to consciously select your timeline. So here's what I do, and here's what I recommend you do. The moment you wake up, before you check your phone, before you think about your to-do list, before you engage with your current reality, you ask yourself one question. Which version of me am I animating today? Not which version are you trying to become. Which version are you choosing to be right now? The version that's struggling, or the version that's already succeeded? The version that's waiting, or the version that's receiving? The version that's hoping, or the version that's knowing? You pick one, consciously, and then you spend 5 minutes, just 5, embodying that version. You don't visualize from the outside. You drop into first-person experience. You feel what that version feels. You breathe how that version breathes. You carry the energy that version carries, and here's the key. You do this not as imagination, but as selection. You're not pretending. You're tuning. You're shifting your consciousness to the channel where that version is already real. And then throughout your day, at every decision point, you ask, what would the version of me living my desired reality choose right now? How would they respond to this email? How would they handle this challenge? What energy would they bring to this conversation? And you choose that, not because you're faking it, but because you're practicing coherence. You're stabilizing your frequency. You're training your consciousness to stay on the new channel instead of defaulting back to the old one. Do this for 30 days, and I promise you, your external reality will have no choice but to reorganize itself around the identity you're holding. Now let me tell you what happens when phase transition actually occurs, because it won't feel like you think it will. Most people expect manifestation to feel like winning the lottery, like fireworks, like some external event that validates everything. But here's what it actually feels like. Remembering. It feels like recognition, like, oh, of course. Like sliding into a reality that was always yours. You just forgot you were living it. There's no shock, no disbelief. Just a quiet sense of rightness, of alignment, of coming home. Bruce Lipton talks about this when he describes the moment belief becomes biology. Your cells have been reorganizing this whole time. Your neural pathways have been rewiring. Your electromagnetic field has been shifting. And when the external reality finally catches up to the internal shift, it doesn't feel foreign. It feels familiar. You don't celebrate like someone who just received a miracle. You relax like someone who just remembered who they've always been, and this is how you know it's real manifestation and not just luck or coincidence. Because luck feels surprising. Manifestation feels inevitable. Luck makes you grateful to something outside yourself. Manifestation makes you grateful to yourself for finally aligning with what was always available. So when your breakthrough comes, and it will come, don't wait for it to feel dramatic. It will feel natural. It will feel right. It will feel like exhaling after holding your breath for years, and in that moment, you'll understand everything I've been saying. You'll understand that you weren't creating something new. You were just shifting your attention to what already existed. You weren't becoming someone different. You were just remembering who you've always been. And here's the final piece I want you to carry with you. If your manifestation hasn't arrived yet, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's not because the universe doesn't hear you. It's not because you're not worthy. The delay isn't denial, it's divine recalibration. The field is arranging something better than you asked for, bigger than you visualized, more aligned than you could have planned. Your job isn't to force the timing. Your job is to stay in receiving frequency, to trust the vacuum, to rest in the knowing that everything is conspiring in your favor, even when you can't see it yet. The caterpillar doesn't rush the chrysalis. The seed doesn't panic in the dark soil, And you don't need to either, because your breakthrough isn't coming. It's already here. You're just catching up to it. So let's bring this all together. You're standing at the collapse point. Your desired reality exists in superposition. Right now, in this moment, your consciousness is the observer that collapses the wave. And the frequency you hold determines which timeline becomes real. You shift from wanting to receiving by surrendering the need. You embody the identity of the person who already has what you want, not as pretending, but as selection. You align your emotional frequency with the frequency of your desire. You trust the quantum vacuum state as pregnancy, not emptiness. You allow your timelines to phase lock without forcing. And you recognize the signs that you're at the threshold. You're not hoping anymore. You're not wishing. You're not waiting. You're knowing. You're being. You're already living from the frequency of the reality you're calling in. And the quantum field has no choice but to reflect that back to you. Now, if you felt a shift while watching this, if something clicked, if something resonated, if you felt that frequency alignment happen in real time, I want you to do something for me. Drop one word in the comments. Just one word that captures the frequency you're claiming right now. Abundance, love, success, freedom, peace. Whatever it is, claim it. Speak it into existence. Let the algorithm know you're part of this quantum community. And if you're ready to go deeper into this work, if you want to explore the next layers of quantum manifestation, the advanced practices, the science behind timeline jumping, hit that subscribe button. Because this video is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore, and I'm creating a space for people who are ready to consciously collapse the wave, who are ready to stop being victims of circumstance, and start being deliberate creators of reality. This is that space. You're already here. You didn't find this video by accident. Algorithms aren't random, they're reflections of your frequency. The fact that you're here, that you've watched this far, that you're still with me, that's the quantum field confirming that you're ready. You're at the collapse point. Your breakthrough isn't coming, it's here. You're just learning to see it, so welcome. Welcome to the collapse point. Welcome to your breakthrough. Welcome to the version of you that was always available, just waiting to be selected. I'll see you in the next one, when you're ready for the next layer, the next frequency, the next level of this quantum journey. Until then, stay in receiving frequency, trust the vacuum, and remember, you're not becoming, you're remembering. Now go collapse that wave.